Hi, this is Untold with me, Niamh Buffini, where we dive deep into some very well-known Irish faces about their careers, their journeys, their lives, and what they're excited for next in life. We also get to grips with some untold stories behind the scenes where they may not have shared before with the Irish public. You heard it here first on Untold with me, Niamh Buffini, downloadable from wherever you get your podcasts. Ray Shah, you're very welcome to the couch.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in.
This is actually so cozy.
On a 28-degree day. Isn't that amazing? I chose the right day for this. Thank you so much for coming in to chat to us. I want to talk to you all about your career.
Yes.
And life lessons, transitions, and we might have a little sneaky untold story at the very end if you have something that you've never shared with the universe. But just to start off, like to get to know somebody, why they are where they are at the present time, you have to get to understand their upbringing and their background.
Yeah.
So life as a child growing up in your environment, what was that like, and did that help you shape where you are today?
I suppose we'll go back then to when I moved over here, I suppose. I moved over here in 1988, show my age here, you know. I'm from a mixed race family. So my dad is from Kenya with Indian ethnic background and my mum is from Ireland. So we used to spend a lot of time over here when it came to summer holidays, you know. So we, even though we were from England, we felt very much that we were, you know, Irish as well. And my mum wanted us always to come back to Ireland when it came to us kind of getting a bit older. She didn't want to have kids growing up in England and stuff like that. So I suppose that's where it all kind of, for me, it started because it was very much a normal childhood back home. But when you came over here from being a mixed race, so when I first moved over here, I was very much, or my family, we were very much kind of new as such. You know, my dad, even though he's not black, he's dark. And my mum, you know, she's Irish. That wasn't a big thing over here, you know. And again, being from England as well, that threw another thing in the mix as well. So I'll always remember when I started primary school and the headmaster called an assembly at the end of the day, and he said, we'd like to welcome Raymond into the school. He's here. I was Raymond back then. Yeah. We'd like to Raymond when I'm in trouble, but we'd like to welcome Raymond here. He's come over from England. And the thing that kind of threw a curveball, he was like, and you might know that Raymond has different colour skin to everybody here. And I was like, that was the first time I kind of had any inkling of that, because in England, it's very much, you know, very much a mixture of race. And my best friend was a black girl, you know, so it wasn't that different for me, but over here it was. And I remember going, no, wasn't saying anything like in a bad way. It was just to tell people, you know, you might recognise Raymond has different colour skin, but you don't treat him like any different to anybody else. He's just the same as everybody else, you know? Yeah. And for me, that was more kind of like, okay, so I went back home and I said to my mum, you know, I was only 10 at the time, am I different to everybody else? And it kind of stemmed from then. But then, obviously then, when I moved over here, Ireland had just beaten England in the European Championships in 1988. Right. So I got a double whammy of I got more stick from being from England than I did for being mixed race, I suppose, you know? And it kind of, that's where it all kind of came from there, where it made me a bit more kind of headstrong. Okay. You know, I used to wear the England jersey in school just to wind everybody up as well. I used to give as good as I got. And I suppose it made you a bit more of a fighter, and also just, I think, made you think, you know, it's good to be a bit different as well, you know. And it's, nobody wants to be the same as everybody else, really, you know. No.
And I think, like, in this day and age, it's so like, almost unacceptable, but it's like when you think back to the way people spoke, you know, around ethnicity, sexuality, it's just totally unacceptable. But I love the fact that you've taken the positive strong points from it and you're like, no, this did make me resilient. Like it parachuted you into your attitude towards your career today, would you say?
Yeah, well, obviously I went back to England then after a couple of years to go and work over there. And, you know, at the time, I was working in IT, and you know, I went and applied for Big Brother. But I
can't see you sitting behind a desk working on a computer all day.
I actually used to be the IT person for Shazam. Do you know Shazam?
Oh yeah.
Back when that first set up, cool. People always, oh my God, you used to work for Shazam. But yeah, when that first started off, I was their IT guy. But again, I was living in England. I wasn't happy working behind computers. I'm more of a bit of a social butterfly. I like to talk to people. But when I worked in multinational companies here, I was working in desktop support. So I got to go around to people's desks, and that's my forte, is talking to people. Yeah. That's what I love to do. But then I was stuck behind the desk when I lived in London, in Shazam, and that's when I went, I'm going to go and apply for Big Brother. And one of my things, and I'll never forget when, one of the questions on the application form was, what makes you different to everybody else? So I asked one of my friends back here, one of my best friends, and he says, what makes me different to everyone else? And he went, well, you're mixed race Irish. So this all stems back to that. And I think that was the one answer that got me to the interview stage. Because beforehand they had obviously Brian Dowling, they had Anna Nolan, they always tried to find different characters as such, different people, and for them obviously having someone who is mixed race Irish, that was pretty newish, I suppose then. And my friends actually said to me just before doing the show, they were saying to me, do not wear your England jersey. You're going to lose votes. And I went, no, I'm going in there to be who I am. Oh, yeah. And I purposely wore an England jersey in there, knowing it was going to cause a bit of a talking point here. Yeah. And it did, because the very first question I was asked my very first interview after I came at the house was for 2FM. And the very first question they asked me was, Ray, why did you wear an England jersey? And I told them the story. I said, very much you can be proud to be, I'm proud to be from England, but I'm proud to be Irish as well. Yeah. And this is all stemming back to how I grew up. And and we were saying about now how much it's kind of changed now, and how much different nationalities are in Ireland now. Yeah. And it's becoming a bit more of a melting pot, but there is that little, the dark side of it, which is really rearing its head now as well, which is sad to see.
It is sad. It is sad. That entry into Big Brother, was that strategic on your part to say, okay, this is how I want to get into the media industry? Or was it just that point in time you were like, no, I want to do this for a bit of fun?
I was a huge fan of the show. I was like a Big Brother fanatic. Back then I could tell you everything about every housemate. I used to see Brian Dowling every single day going past my workplace when I worked in Shazam. For me, I don't know, I always thought that there was something a bit better out there for myself, whether it was never, I was never planning on getting into the industry. Okay. I knew, there was going to be a certain amount of notoriety afterwards, and I knew that at the time it was a huge show. Yeah. It was the biggest show on TV at the time, and I knew that you would get a certain amount of fame after. But I was 25 at the time. I was going to all the big parties in London, mixing with all these big names and doing everything that you should do in your mid-20s, late 20s as such. So this job came up then in Q102 and radio, and I was like, yeah, sure, might as well give it a go and see what happens, and I kind of left the IT industry after that, then the computer industry.
So for me, growing up watching you from Big Brother days right through to where you're at now is like, it all seems seamless, and it all seemed to have just kind of flowed for you naturally. Obviously, you've worked hard behind the scenes, but we know that nothing happens in a straight line in life. No. So can you share with us maybe one or two experiences that you've had when it didn't go so straight line?
When I was leaving radio back then, obviously with Q102, at the time it would have been just around, I suppose, the recession, and a lot of people were losing jobs. And I sometimes was a bit vocal on social media. I'd react before kind of thinking what I was, before posting. And I remember one of them in particular, I got into an argument with a journalist online. She'd wrote something bad about me, about a year or something beforehand. Never met before. I don't even know why she wrote it, but she ended up losing her job on one of the papers. One of the papers went into receivership, and I put down I put on a post I think it was on Twitter at the time. Something about her losing her job or something like that, and at the end I went, karma bitch, right? This thing went viral, not in a good way, in a bad way. And I had to have a big meeting with the owners of Q102 at the time, which were UTV PLC, but there was no social media thing back then as well. So that was a bit of a stressful time. Now I got to keep the job, but that was more kind of the start of where things started to to separate, and where it was I had to kind of move on from that job in particular, because it just wasn't working out. So I suppose that was one thing you learn. I don't regret what I wrote down at the time, because it was something I felt at the time, but it was a lesson that you kind of have to a lesson that you.
But I suppose vocalizing and pushing the boundaries, like, you may not be where you are today if you didn't do that.
No, like that opened up another door. Like, just that one closed, and then I got a job then within. I got a job with. I was actually the Domino's entertainment correspondent for Ireland. So this is another one where social media got the better of me.
Okay.
So as you can see, there's a bit of a trend here. Yeah, there is a bit of a theme going on here, and it was. I know this. When I think back now, going, why did I do it? But I had. I'd broken up with an ex of mine, which we were together for years, and I was booked for a gig in town, and it was sponsored by a well-known drinks company. Mm-hmm. And we finished the gig, me and the lads, and it was all free drink, and I left the gig with 2 bottles of this alcohol, this vodka in my trousers, and went on a bit of a session for about 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
But at the time, I was sponsored by Domino's to do their entertainment report from the X Factor and stuff like that on RDM. And I'd been out then for the whole weekend, and I hadn't actually watched the thing, and I was meant to be on RDM on the Monday morning.
Okay.
Now, bear in mind, I came home at about 6 o'clock in the morning on the Monday after being out for the whole weekend, and kind of fell asleep watching X Factor, and I was meant to be on RDM. I think it was about 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning. Woke up, I think, about an hour later, and my voice was gone. So I was like, right, either go in and do it drunk or call in sick. So I rang up and I said, listen, I'm not feeling great. Do you have somebody in there to cover for me? And they did actually have someone in there, and they did the point, and they did the part, and I went to bed and I fell asleep. Next thing I woke up then later on that afternoon going, Ray, where are you? What have you done? Why didn't you come in this morning? And they had seen I'd been out for the whole weekend because I posted stuff on Twitter.
Good old Twitter.
Oh, good old Twitter back in the day. And so I ended up losing that gig on R&M, and it was the Domino's thing, the entertainment report, and we were looking at making that, because it was going so well.
Yes.
We were looking at expanding
that
role, and literally, I ruined it. So I'm a bit more wary of what I pull up on. I literally ask people now, shall I post that? No, I don't. I'm not controversial on social media.
But lesson learned,
It is,
you take these
stupid. I was young and stupid, I suppose then, and I was big into my partying, and it was a different time now, But again, you live and learn.
Absolutely.
I don't like. I know you shouldn't live life by regrets, but I suppose there's a few things that you kind of go, maybe I should have done that bit different back then,
Yes. Look, we all need to learn from people like you that aren't afraid to push the boundaries sometimes. And even the businesses will learn from things like that as well, mistakes that people make, or maybe they're not showing up or whatever it might be. But one thing I admire is that you always seem to navigate into a space that really works for you.
Yeah.
And even with the Trika hosting events, things like that you're doing right now, owning businesses in the fitness health and fitness for yourself and not just for show. It seems to be that you have a real passion for that. And it's like when you have a passion for something, you go full throttle. You go full throttle.
I do. And I know even with High Rocks, I got into High Rocks about 6 months before it actually really became big here. And, it was more for me. I loved the training. I came out lockdown very much out of shape. I was about 100 kilos coming out of lockdown. I focused mainly on my company at the time, and obviously all these companies, all these other meal restaurants had these tasty meal boxes that we literally just, didn't look after. I didn't look after myself during lockdown. So when the gyms opened back up, I gave myself a realistic target of getting myself back in shape, and I lost about 25 kilos in just over a year. And I just got back into training. Yeah. But then obviously I saw this thing that a friend of mine had put up on Instagram, High Rocks, and I was asking him about it, and I was like, oh, that could suit me. It's running, which I actually enjoy doing, and obviously a bit of functional training as well. So it was 2 things I actually enjoyed doing. But again, I did very well in it. I was doing very well in it, and then High Rocks and fitness racing has exploded. So it's like I got in at the right time, just before it, and like if people are into it, they probably would have seen the stuff I was putting up on Instagram and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that before it kind of got big and before everyone kind of got into it. So
Yeah.
you're right. Kind of you got into things just at the right time. But again, I went all out, and I think it became pretty much my personality for ages. And I think look back now, I probably put a bit too much about it at the start. But again, it was just kind of gave me a bit of accountability as well, and made me kind of push just that little bit harder to do well in it.
Yeah, and you're like, you seem to have kind of really kind of come to a point in life where, like, yeah, still happy to take on transitions and changes, but like, are you working smarter now, not harder? Is that the case?
Yeah, like I'm 48 now, and it's more.
You don't look 48.
No,
You look about 28.
Thank you. You feel it sometimes if you only saw what I look like getting up in the morning. I'm like, oh, jeez, I'm sore. But it's I think now, even like with regards to fitness racing, you know, a lot of work goes in. I still train 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I put the hours in. You know, I still compete very much
Heavily,
so in Trica, in high rocks as well. But I'm trying to focus a bit more on the recovery side as well, because the aches and pains and the little niggles and stuff. I'm not in my 20s or early 30s anymore, you know.
Yeah.
So I think definitely being a bit more smarter with what I'm doing for training wise, but even just trying to enjoy myself. Like I don't think I could tie myself back into a 9-to-5 job again. You know, it's I like to have that bit of a freedom.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, DJ, obviously with Sports, the company, doing obviously MC work as well. It's kind of given me that little bit of freedom to pick and choose what I do, really, you know.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how much time I want to spend with it.
Yeah, living the dream.
Yeah, well, it's hard work, you know. It's not like it's not.
No.
Well, actually, I'll say 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, you know, I could be working a 20-hour day.
Yeah, yeah. I
know,
hear you.
The next day, then I might just be doing 2 hours.
Yeah, and would you say like big lessons learned in terms of like not reinventing the wheel, but trying to stay relevant online and managing home life, health, career? Like, what would you say the biggest lessons learned in trying to grapple with all of that are?
Yeah, it can be a bit juggling ball act, you know. Everything's fine while you're able to balance it all, but yeah, if one thing kind of starts to go a bit AWOL, that's where it can get a bit stressful at times, you know. So I suppose it's great having someone who supports you, like Danny, my other half. Like she's you know, she's a great support, and I suppose anytime I have to have a bit of a rant or a moan about something, like she's always there. Ria, my daughter, she's brilliant as well, you know, and they kind of allow me to do whatever, you know, the things I enjoy doing as well to a certain point. But again, it's it can be very much a balancing act, and you know, sometimes I think you can take on a bit too much, and you have to kind of manage the stress, because it can be a bit too much at times, you know. It really can do, you know. Yeah.
And what are you excited for? I want to know what Ray Shah is excited for next in his life, in his career. Yeah, what's coming down the tracks?
It's a tough one, because I know we're saying about transitions at the moment. So you know, my own company, Body First, it's going through a bit of a transition at the moment. I ceased trading a couple of weeks ago, and so I wasn't sure. I lost interest in it probably about 3 years ago, and I stepped back a lot from it, and the company kind of suffered a bit from that as well, because I focused mainly in my fitness racing, you know, high rocks, Trica. That became more my passion. Yeah. And then I kind of stepped back into the fold then probably about 1.5 years ago, and looked back and I thought, this is going to take me a while to sort out the mess as such, you know. But listen, like one door closes, another one opens. We're in the process now of getting bought out by another company now as well, which would be great. You know, it'd be a second chance for Body First. Body First 2.0.
Yes.
And, you know, it's a big company. And this company, I just think we're going to come back bigger and better. And plus, I have the hunger for it again now. I really wanted to kind of get back to the way it was. And I think it's going to do well. So, yeah, I suppose I think for now, I think the focus is to build Body First back up again. I think fitness racing side, I think that might take a bit more of a back seat now. I'm looking at doing some work actually with Trica. So not just the emceeing part, but actually within the company itself, because I'll have a bit more time to do that as well. And then as I said, like the DJing side of it, that might take a bit of a backseat as well. And those late nights and early starts, they're a killer.
Not good for the heart.
No,
Not
and you know
what,
when you're getting a bit older as well, you find it harder to struggle on like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah,
There's only so much caffeine can do for you.
I want to know, is there anything about you that maybe people don't know?
Oh, jeez.
The untold, Ray.
Do you know what? I put everything out there too
You wear
much.
your heart in your sleeve.
I do, and I think anything that goes on in my life, I actually do put on social media.
Okay.
And sometimes I get told off from my other half, Danny. She's like, "Why'd you put that up? Why people don't need to know." So yeah, everything I do, I put it out there, and I don't mind if people have a genuine interest in what I do, then great. If they don't, then they don't follow me.
Any goss about Brian Dowling now and your crossings with him?
No, do you know, he was great.
Yeah,
and I have to say,
fun,
I thought he was going to be a bit of a diva. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
You know, I think anyone that I've met within that circle, you know, 99.9% of them have been brilliant. You know, I've got fond memories of back then going to parties and having the crack. And you know, my friends I lived with in London, they came along as well, and they got to enjoy it as well. Like it wasn't just me. You try to make them kind of enjoy it as much as well, and get to live that type of life as well.
Bring everybody with you.
But then again, you know, that was great. I don't think I could ever go back to that.
You've done it.
I've been there, done that.
Yeah,
and even going out, like I'm a bit boring now. You know,
Here's your sister.
When I was 25, I was thinking, I'm going to party, or even like in my 20s, I'm going to be partying until I'm, you know, 50, 60. I get excited about sticking on a pair of tracksuit bottoms and then putting on Netflix or putting on the TV and going, do you know what? I don't have to talk to anyone today.
Exactly, the peace and quiet.
And it is when you're doing stuff what you're doing as well. You know, there's a lot of energy goes into talking to people and being nice to people. You know, and when you're finished at the end of the day, you're kind of like, oh,
you're energied out, you're talked out, and you're like, peace and quiet.
A lot of the things I've done over the years, like I've loved every minute of it. Of it. Like when I worked in radio, like I might go back to radio at some point. I was actually talking to someone recently about going back into the Dublin radio in particular. But when I worked in Q and iRadio, absolutely brilliant people I met and great time. When I did Big Brother, I got everything from that show and more so.
Amazing.
You know? And even like when you're DJing as well, I've had some great gigs, I've had some not so great gigs, and even the fitness racing side, I've met some amazing people within the community over the last couple of years. So I'm lucky, you know, I am lucky. Everything I've done, I've enjoyed to a certain point, but then when it starts to fizzle out, I think that's where you have to kind of step back and go, is this what I want to do? You know, and I think even like people who do their leaving certs, it's I think what you're going to do then, you might necessarily do in 15, 20. It's a lot to pull on someone at that age, at 18, 19, to go, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Great if it is, you know, if you enjoy doing that for the rest of your life, you know, happy days, but more than likely you're going to change.
That's a great message. Great message for the young teens of today that are going through those. Leaving certain school is not for everybody.
No.
You know, and it's so important to be able to take life as it comes, but have the backup plan, like you mentioned earlier on, and do what you're passionate about. You know, and if things transition and change over life, that's going to happen.
Yeah,
embrace it.
Life is a roller coaster. I know it's a bit of a cliche, and
Yeah.
there's so many ups and downs. Like, and you know, just when you think, life's going great, a curveball comes around, and then you're like, oh, fuck, I have to deal with this, you know. So that's why I would say, like, you know, live every day, you know, enjoy every day, without sounding somber. You just don't know what's around the corner. So just try to make the most of it and enjoy life, and don't take life so seriously.
Yeah, wear the smile, wear things lightly. That's a great message. Ray Shah, thank you so much for coming
thank
to
you
talk
for
to us
having me.
today.
Thank you.
Your amazing interview, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
I tend to talk a lot.
Oh, same. So.
I tend to rabbit on a bit more.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.